Hello students, how are you? Okay, so we're gonna solve this problem. The question reads, what is the solution set for the inequality below? Two things that I'm gonna remember about how I solve inequalities is I apply inverse operations, exactly what we do with equations. And the other thing that we do is the only special case we have is when we multiply or divide by a negative, we have to flip the inequality symbol. And I'm gonna explain you why. It's very easy, so we can understand why we have to flip the inequality symbol and so we won't forget. So let's say that I have a number line, and then let's say that I have a 3 in here, and let's say that I have a negative 2 in here. And then we know that all the positives are greater than the negative, right? So I'm going to say negative 2 is less than 3. Do you agree? Okay, awesome. But now imagine that I'm going to multiply this by a negative number. So for example, I can multiply by another negative 1. So I'm going to say with parentheses times negative 1. And let's say I multiply by negative 1 on the other side, because that's what we do in equations. Remember, we multiply on both sides of the equation, and that's what we do in the inequalities as well. Okay, so now if I multiply negative 1 times negative 2, that's going to become positive 2. See? And if I multiply 3 times negative 1, that's going to become negative 3. Now, you see what happened here? Now this side of the equation, because it became positive, is gonna be the biggest side. And that's why we flip the inequality symbol. So remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative, then the numbers switch. They're gonna change. And so because of that, we change the inequality symbol as well. Okay, so now that we remember those basic rules for solving inequalities, we're gonna get started, okay? Awesome. And remember, we always get rid of the numbers first and the variable at the end, because the variable is what we try to solve. So I'm gonna copy the inequality is negative 3 that multiplies the x, and it says minus 12, and then it says is greater than or equal to positive 30. And this is the value that we're going to try to figure. Remember? So I'm trying to isolate this x in here. So because the x's, we got 3 of those, that's what we're going to do at the end. First thing that we're going to do inverse operations. What is the opposite of subtracting 12? It's going to be adding 12 on the left side, and we add 12 on the right side. I'm going to bring down the numbers, negative 3. That multiplies my x. Negative 12 plus 12, they cancel out, right? It's going to be 0 because they are opposite numbers. Bring down the inequality. And let's do this operation. 30 plus 12. That's going to be 42. Awesome. Now remember, we're going to split all these 42 into these 3 negatives. So the opposite of multiplying by negative 3 is going to be dividing by negative 3 on the left side. And it's going to be dividing by negative 3 on the right side. This is the step that we're adding here, guys. That's what we're doing. And the inequality symbol so far stays the same. So far stays the same. But now see what's going to happen, because we're going to solve this inequality and we are dividing by the negative. Remember what we saw here that happens when we multiply or divide by a negative? Okay, so that's what's going to happen here. A negative 3 divided by a negative 3 is going to become 1. That multiplies our x. That was the value that we were looking for. Because we divide by a negative, see what's going to happen to the inequality? It's going to flip. Awesome. Right there. That's what's going to happen. And now I'm going to do this operation. 42 divided by negative 3. I'm going to do that on the side. So I'm going to do 42 divided by negative 3. This is the division, and the long division symbol is the same thing. Okay, so let's do it, guys. 3 times what is close to 4? 3 times 1. So I'm going to say 3 times 1, that's going to be minus 3. 4 minus 3, that's going to be 1. And then we bring down the 2. Now 3 times what is going to be a 12. And it's going to be a 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Remainder 0. So this is what I want to recommend you guys. When you're doing this operation, forget about this negative sign. Just divide like any regular division. I didn't really take care of that negative sign. I'm going to do it at the end. So see, let's review what we did. 3 times 1, that's 3. So 4 minus 3, that's 1. You see, it's like a normal division. Bring down that 2. Awesome. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 12, that's 0. Now we're gonna take care of the sign once we get our answer. You see how the divisor is negative and how the dividend is positive. When we multiply or divide a positive and a negative, the answer is gonna be negative. Great. So I'm gonna record that answer right here. 42 divided by negative 3 is gonna be negative 14. Now I don't need to have this one in front of the x. I'm just going to bring down the x, bring down the inequality symbol, and bring down the negative 14. And that should be our solution. Let's look at the answer choices, guys. And we have the x here, less than or equal, and the negative 14. So it looks like this is our answer. I'm going to look at the next inequality. For choice B, we have less than negative 42, but they don't have the equal sign. That's why this cannot be your answer. Let's check on letter C. They have x greater than or equal to 42, and that cannot be the answer. And finally, letter D, x greater than or equal to negative 14. And what happened here is, you see, they didn't flip the inequality symbol, but we are dividing by a negative, so we should have flipped the sign. So our answer, it is letter A. Thank you, guys.